Oh my goodness, have we got some golf to talk about here on Breaking Even. Huge show. Tiger? Could Tiger be making a comeback? There are actually odds on Tiger to win the 2022 Masters. As usual, Barney Allery is going to join us here on Breaking Even. Jonathan Coachman is going to break down some of the odds, especially those on Tiger in the 2022 Masters. Danny Moses, a couple of specific questions for him about the stock market, especially about, okay, what do you do? Is it going to go down 10% or are we going to melt up to the end of the year? He's going to answer those questions for us. But first and foremost, let's get straight to the golf because Tiger is back. Colin Morikawa. Turns out he might be the modern-day Ben Hogan. McIlroy's tearing his shirt off. Jordan Spieth has had a son. The CME race to the Globe has finished. Who's going to be Player of the Year? Coin flip. Tony Finau did something impressive in front of the world number one. PGA purses are absolutely going through the roof. And Bryson is playing Brooks the day after Thanksgiving. And I'm winded. Need to take a break. Barney Allery, welcome to Breaking Even. Let's start with Tiger Woods. He put a clip out this week of him actually swinging the club. Barney, I had no idea he was this far along.
And don't look now, Ned, but I believe we are now talking 272 days since the crash. And when the crash happened, I was talking to a lot of people that I give lessons to that happen to be doctors, and his right leg took a wicked beating. And not only is he lucky to be alive, I also have every reason to believe that amputation was also a possibility. And now, 272 days later, he almost breaks the internet with this clip of him smoothing some irons. And quite honestly, it looked far better than even than whatever your highest hopes possibly could have been. And has gotten everyone very, very, very excited. And the only caption he puts on there is making progress.
I couldn't believe it. I honestly didn't know that he was even swinging the golf club. We had heard so little that he was even attempting to hit balls. I thought he was still on crutches, basically. But this is huge news. But Barney, let's not overreact. Now, Ben Hogan did get hit straight on by a Greyhound bus. He came back and he played at a very high level. He won major championships. But to think that he could come back, Tiger Woods could come back and win the 2022 Masters. I'm not going to discuss the odds right now because I want to do that with Coach later in the show. So let's just take it from a macro view. Is it crazy to think that Tiger could win the 2022 Masters?
Not a chance.
Not a chance.
And so from my perspective, what he put out there on social media is very encouraging. I don't know if promising is also the right word or not. But in the meantime, him smoothing some irons in the range, that's all nice. That's great. That's good. It's a nice place to start and progress from. But that is a long way from launching drivers in a way that you're competitive against the talent pool that you're having to go up against, as well as that is a long way when it comes to also the possibility of walking 72 holes.
If he couldn't play, do you think there'd be any thought of maybe hitting a ceremonial tee shot?
Oh, not that fast. Not fast. Not so fast. Calm down.
I'm just pumped that he's back. It's so good for the game. Speaking of Ben Hogan, Colin Morikawa, I've been saying it for a while, just kind of wondering and pondering out loud. Is Colin Morikawa a modern-day Ben Hogan? I think, Barney, he has proven, without a doubt, we are getting the treat to watch modern-day Ben Hogan. He ends up winning the DP World Tour race to the Dubai, all this kind of stuff. I don't even know if it's a European Tour, the DP Tour. I don't know what to call it right now. But anyway, Colin Morikawa becomes the first American to win the race to Dubai. And he does it in pretty dramatic fashion as he races to the clubhouse and overtakes Rory Mcilroy, who we will get to next. But let's stick with Colin Morikawa. What do you make of this young man?
Oh, boy. And so Colin Morikawa, again, he's another one that never ceases to amaze me because every time I turn around, he always seems to demonstrate to me that he is even better than even I think that he is. And so every time I turn around, I'm having to raise the bar because now as he turns around, shoots a back nine 31 and basically steamrolls over and past said Rory Mcilroy, who at the end of it was so upset, rips his shirt. That's a strange little thing. Ned, I'm sure you've been upset playing golf in your life. I don't know if you've ever ripped your shirt. I'm sure you've thrown a club or slammed a club in the ground. But anyways, Rory takes it out on his shirt, which is something I'm not that familiar with. But in the meantime, Colin Morikawa, Anyhow, he goes on and he sweeps the DP World Tour Championship and the European Tour race to Dubai. It adds up, Ned, that he made himself $4 million on the weekend, and I think that is pretty good to also cap off an incredible year. But Ned, are you ready for my first shut your mouth?
I imagine it's the same shut your mouth as I have, but go for it.
It may or may not be, because this one's courtesy of Justin Ray. And Justin Ray happens to point out that when Colin Morikawa is in a groove, do not expect him to make a mistake, because he has a knack. Colin Morikawa has a knack to finish tournaments bogey-free, because in the 2020 PGA Championship, he played the last 23 holes without a bogey. In this year's WGC Workday, he played the last 16 holes without a bogey. In this year's British Open, or the Open Championship, played the last 31 holes without a bogey. And now in the DP World Championship, Ned, he played the last 41 holes without a bogey. His last bogey was on Friday afternoon. That is unbelievable and makes me want to say, shut your mouth.
You shut your mouth when you talk to me like that, Barney Allery. And Colin Morikawa, you just shut the door on everybody else. Barney, that is 111 bogey-free holes. And it's not like we're talking John Deere, right, where the greens are soft and the fairways are wide and you know you'd shoot 20 under. Barney, we're talking 2 major championships, a World Golf Championship on an incredibly difficult golf course, and now the race to Dubai when all the money's on the line. 111 bogey-free holes. Shut your mouth.
Yeah, that's pretty strong.
Seriously, that is ridiculous. That's why I'm saying he is modern-day Ben Hogan. He wins the Open World Golf Championship, race to Dubai, the DP World Tour Championship, and he's 3-0-1 in the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, a strong year. Pretty impressive.
Rory Mcilroy, you did mention he tore his shirt. You remember a shirt in the 80s? Had like tattered holes and burn marks in it, and it just said, "Who farted?" You remember that shirt?
No.
That's all I could think of when I saw this McIlroy shirt. It's torn up here by the collar. You could just tell how frustrated and mad he was. But listen, he got a terrible break on the 15th hole.
Yep.
Right? Feathered a little wedge in there that slams off of the pin, sucks back into the front bunker. He doesn't get it up and down, makes bogey, 3 putts a couple holes later. So, it was a combination of he got a terrible break, and Morikawa was applying a lot of pressure. So McIlroy ends up finishing 6th. He shoots 2 over on Sunday.
Yeah.
I love Rory McIlroy, right? I don't care that he tore his shirt. That makes me love him more. He's human. And Barney, I was the most fined player my first 2 years out as a professional golfer on the Hooters Tour, the mini tours. So I had to learn how to control my temper. I'm not sure I actually ever did, but showing emotion for Rory McIlroy is natural. It's a good thing. If he doesn't show emotion, I think he becomes this robot that he doesn't want to be, and he ends up playing some pretty poor golf by his standards.
No, so I'm a part of me is a little upset that this really irritated him, because he's going to play his best when the fire is burning. But the ripping of the shirt, I remember hearing about Arnold Palmer putting his fist through a locker. That I can see. Breaking a club, that I can see. Different things like that, a tirade or two. But taking it out on your shirt and then having to walk around because evidently you don't have a backup shirt readily available, that's a little strange. Because basically, for those who missed it, he looked like he got tangled at the zoo and kind of went in one of the cages there, and one of the animals did a number on him.
Looked like a puma attack.
That's right.
If I'm Harry Diamond, I just take off my caddy bib and I give it to him to put over. Just have to have a little humility there. But you know how they photo match game-worn jerseys? I want that shirt. I want McIlroy's shirt, and I want it autographed. Maybe. Hey, as we're speaking about top players in the world, Justin Thomas had a really nice quote about McIlroy, just saying how good of a guy he is, how strong of a competitor he is, but his heart's always in the right place. And speaking about world number ones and former world number ones, congratulations to Jordan Spieth.
Yep.
A son, Sammy, is with us now in the world. Congratulations, Jordan. Tony Finau, I mentioned it. He shot a 59, Barney, at his home club Silverleaf, and he was playing with world number one, Jon Rahm.
Yeah.
Okay, we've seen guys do this. Jon Rahm, when he got his new Callaway clubs last year, first round he played with them, shot 59. So he's no stranger to these numbers. But I just wonder, you do that playing with the world number one. That has to sink into your psyche a little bit. And at some point in the rest of this season, I just wonder if those two coming down the stretch aren't head-to-head, and somewhere tucked away in his reticular activation system, does Tony Finau say, I shot 59 against this guy? Or is this just fun game?
Yeah, if Tony Finau was a stock, he only continues to rise. And so now Tony Finau, in no way, shape, and form, would be intimidated playing with John Rahm. He's been rubbing elbows with some of the best players in the world for the last 10 years or so. Ryder Cup player. He knows he's a solid player. But there's something magical about that number. And then to do it in that company is really, really something. And who knows that maybe Tony Finau, to go along with Colin Morikawa, potentially go along with Rory Mcilroy, that potentially all three of them are going to have very, very big years next year.
Speaking of stocks rising, how about the PGA Tour purses? Oh, my goodness. Barney, they are playing for some serious FedEx Cup points and a lot of dough. Another bump in the purses. No surprise as we see this escalation, this arms race in the game of golf. We've seen it across the globe now. The European Tour rebranding to the DP World Tour. The tour that Norman is with over in Asia and trying to take over the rest of the world of golf through the Saudi Arabian-backed money. But now, Barney, the PGA Tour says, gentlemen, don't worry about money. We got you.
Yeah, every new dollar, they are carpet bombing the PGA Tour with new money. And you know what? Even if you're not that crazy about Greg Norman, if I'm a PGA Tour player, Greg, thank you very much. Because in the end, you are helping my bottom line by a landslide. And they are now throwing so much money, it's hard for me to keep up. But I think that they've bumped up the Players' Championship purse to about $20 million. There's going to be $427 million just in official prize money. All sorts of other bonuses escalating over $800 million are up for grabs, including, I believe, the $427 million. The FedEx Cup gets a bonus, I believe, a $15 million bump that I think is going to be $75 million for the person. I think $18 million is going to go to the winner for the FedEx Cup, so that's absolutely incredible. And then the average purse is going to go from $8 million to $9.1 million. And then I think that they're also going to make a few more events with just select top players. And I don't know if I'm going to call it guaranteed purses and guaranteed bonuses and appearance money, but huge money grab opportunities for the top players in the world. Basically, everything they can do to make sure that no one goes to Saudi just for the sake of money, because we've got the money here.
Basically, if you win any one of the invitationals, certainly one of the majors, but one of the bigger events on the PGA Tour, now you're going to win more in one event than Arnold Palmer won in his entire career.
That's right.
It's been that way now for a little bit, but only in the really super big ones, the majors and the Players' Championship. And now it's going to be even just some of the invitationals. I love it. It's good for the game of golf. And I think, again, we're going to see this trickle down. Corn Ferry Tour is going to be next. They're going to have to put some more money into that. Hopefully get some more televised events. And since this show does include financial markets, I do think that we're going to see some trickle down into the golf stocks, specifically Callaway, Titleist, these kind of companies. Making money, but also entertaining. Bryson is playing Brooks the day after Thanksgiving. Who do you have? You know, and are you watching first? And by the way, didn't I create this medium? Kind of, sort of. Remember back when we were doing Golf Talk America on 104.5 The Zone? It's been, 5 or 6 years ago? 7 years ago? I need to go find that clip. And I said, this is what we need to do. And I actually sent an email to my superiors at certain broadcast entities, we'll say, and said, hey, here's an idea for you. I said, all I want is to make sure I'm on the coverage. Not on the coverage.
No, coming also from the same guy that once referred to in the Masters broadcast as something about a smoke wagon, to which then there was even T-shirts that were made about that.
Not in the Masters broadcast. I want to be clear. That is true, though. Tiger playing down in, I guess it was Tampa? Yeah, years ago. And I said, he's a Tiger on the tee with a smoke wagon.
That's right.
Next thing I know, the next week, their shirts out.
That's right. That's right.
I got to start. I got to be better on my business side here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, are you watching this match, and who wins?
But in the meantime, I am going to watch that, and I'd be willing to bet that I'm under the impression that Bryson, if I was leaning in one direction or another, I think Bryson's probably going to pull it off. But it's going to be rather interesting to see. And I have to believe that the two of them together are going to be somewhat playful and somewhat nice to each other. But in the meantime, for sure, to my mind, one of the pictures of the year of 2021 is the screenshot of when Bryson is walking behind Brooks, and Brooks has this look like, oh, not that guy. And so, anyways, but here we are. Now they get to play head to head. So I'm looking forward to it.
Here they are. Whether it's contrived or not, the conspiracy theory or not, they're playing for a lot of money in front of a lot of folks. So
that's right.
Good on them. I think I'll watch. And I don't know who wins. It's a coin flip. I'm thinking Bryson wins. I think he's a little bit more prepared for it. He wants to win it. I think it actually means something to him, where Brooks,
right?
I could take it or leave it. Kind of like regular season events for Brooks. Unless it's a major, who knows? Hey, just one shut your mouth that I had coming out of the Ladies Tour Championship. Jin Young Ko wins it, Barn.
Yep.
But Barney, she hit her final 63 greens in regulation. Barney, there are only 72 holes in the tournament. And she hit 63 in a row to close the deal out. Shut your mouth.
Ned, you've been a great player for a long time. You played in Asia and stuff, and you've played all sorts of tour events and things of that nature and stuff. And Ned, you know as well as I do that sometimes, like let's say you've hit 5 greens in a row, 6, 7, 8 greens in a row, and you're almost waiting for the wheels to fall off or something like that. But not this young lady. That, again, ladies and gentlemen, she did not have a chip. The last chip she would have made to try to get up and down for par happened, I think, on number 9 on Thursday. But Ned, that's also like this other guy I give lessons to, and he looks at me one time and goes, "Coach, I don't understand." He goes, "I was chipping for birdie all day." And so this young lady here, she never got to experience that. The only chip shots she would have hit would have probably been just little chip shots off the green on par 5s. But otherwise, she was putting for birdie all the time.
So an interesting race to see who ends up there player of the year. Barn, we are out of time. We got to go. We got Jonathan Coachman coming up next, who's going to help us break down the odds for Tiger to win 2022 Masters. Really? Who's going to win this? Bryson Brooks. Also some Thursday games in the NFL, some Thanksgiving games. He'll give us the odds and who to pick there. But before we go, Barn, Thanksgiving is on the horizon, just a couple of days out. Well, I guess we're recording on Tuesday. It drops on Thursday. So happy Thanksgiving. Let's just wish each other happy Thanksgiving now.
Same to you, Ned. We both have a lot to be thankful about.
Amen to that. Take care of yourself.
Yes, sir.
You looking for a vacation? Maybe somewhere you haven't been before, somewhere off the beaten path? Consider Mississippi. You can jump on their website, visitmississippi.org. They had the state fair going on just a couple of weeks ago. They had the PGA Tour in Jackson, Mississippi, the Sanderson Farms Championship. Cruising the Coast, the best automobile show in the country. Deion Sanders, Jackson State. They had 52,000 fans turn up last week at the Jackson State football game. There's so much to do in Mississippi. You can hit the coast. You can gamble a little bit, bet on the sports book, play golf. If you love music, the Grammy Museum. Just check it out. Visit Mississippi.org. Thanksgiving week, and a lot to bet on, not only from the gridiron, but to the golf course. And when we want some gambling advice, we bring in our guy, Jonathan Coachman. You can find him on Twitter at the Coach Rules. He's pretty much the face of sports gambling. Coach, welcome back to Breaking Even.
Thank you very much. Ned, this week I have a little bit of PTSD because all my entire adult life, my mother has never understood that when the holidays get here, why am I busier than when it's not a holiday? She's never understood, why is Jonathan gone half of Christmas Day to do Sports Center? She never got that. But this is the time, Ned, that things ramp up, especially in sports betting. So let's go.
All right, we're going to start with golf. We just come off talking with Barney Allery, and I got to start with Tiger Woods. I'm sure you saw the video clip of Tiger swinging the club. He actually looked, first of all, I didn't even know he was swinging that hard. He looked great, but he now has odds to win the 2022 Masters, which is absolutely ridiculous. Here, the odds are what I read this morning, 35-1.
That's crazy.
Phil is 65-1.
That's crazy. It's crazy.
What are we doing?
But
here?
Here's the thing. Tiger Woods is the equivalent of the Dallas Cowboys of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's America's team. He's America's golfer. And this would be, Ned, the greatest comeback in the history of sports. Let me repeat myself. This would be the greatest comeback in the history of sports if Tiger Woods mangles his leg in his 40s, rehabs behind the scenes, and comes back to win The 2022 Masters? Are you kidding me? It would be the greatest thing that sports has ever seen. It won't happen. It won't happen. I don't think he's going to play in the Masters, but I will go even a step further. It would be the greatest comeback if he comes back and wins any tournament. Can you imagine? And what tournament would it be that he would make his comeback? Can you imagine what tournament would get so lucky to have Tiger Woods in their field for his first comeback tournament? I can't even imagine it, but his swing looked great. He looked healthy. Obviously, he was just working through the wedges, but certainly encouraging, and it certainly set social media off when he posted that video this week.
Absolutely incredible, and so exciting for not only just golfers, but really sports fans, right? In general, as you said, he's America's guy. I did have a couple of thoughts. First of all, coming back to play would be a victory in itself. But the Masters is such a difficult golf course to walk, such a difficult golf course now to play. So if he is able to come back, I'm thinking somewhere flat, somewhere short, and somewhere where distance is not necessarily, the biggest element, most important element to winning. But I also wondered, his college teammate, Casey Martin, remember, sued the PGA Tour years ago to enable himself to use a cart. And I don't know where Tiger is with his walking and if he's swinging. Can he walk 18 holes? That to me is maybe a bigger question.
There is no way he would ever use a cart to play golf. He would rather not play again than use a cart to play golf. I compare Tiger to Rory Mcilroy when it comes to the rules of golf and respecting the game of golf. Not that Casey did not, because Casey was just trying to make it. Tiger doesn't need to make it. He needs to make a comeback. And the only way you do that, Ned, is if you do it all the way, not come back and, oh, by the way, can I use a cart? I don't think the two would ever do that anyway.
Yeah, I think it would open up a big can of worms. And by the way, Casey Martin, thoughts and prayers continue with Casey and his family. I'm sure you've heard that he did end up having to have his leg amputated. He broke it a couple years ago, and it just hasn't healed. So he had great spirits about it, did Casey. So I'm sure we'll see him again on the golf course. We'll see Tiger again on the golf course, no matter whether it be in competition or not. Brooks and Bryson, the day after Thanksgiving, they are playing in the match. 12 holes at the Winds Golf Course out in Vegas. The first time we've seen this golf course. It hasn't hosted any type of televised event. What are your expectations from this match?
Not much, because I'm not going to watch it. I love a great rivalry. And anybody knows, when you get basically trained as an adult in your 20s in the WWE, you want a good heel and a good babyface. This is about 6 months too late. We have talked ad nauseum about when or if this rivalry should have ended. I think they both have been very childish. I wish I could have been like the puppet master, Ned, and kind of guided them through how you do a true rivalry. If you don't like somebody, there's ways of making money. Some of the best rivalries in the history of pro wrestling were real life, I hate you. And so Vince McMahon would say, you know what? Let's take that and put it into the ring, because nothing is more real than a real rivalry. Now, this is real, but it's now past the point of, okay, you got two bullies on the schoolyard boxing at recess, and now it's, oh, those bullies have been bullying for a year now. We're tired of them. Let's go play kickball over here. And yet they're still fighting one-on-one, but nobody's watching. And 12 holes feels odd to me. I looked up some of these quotes, and it's like, really? Do you think we believe you? Brooks says, relationship non-existent. Bryson, I kind of have disdain. We kind of have disdain for each other. Okay. Brooks, I don't want to be around him as much as anyone else. What does that mean? Bryson thinks that Brooks is trying to get some of the extra PGA Tour PIP money that you and I have talked about. There's no parameters here. If this is Brooks sitting around going, you know what? I need to be more active on social media. I need people to pay attention. Okay, I'll agree to play Bryson 12 holes the day after Thanksgiving in Las Vegas. They were on such a roll, Ned. The secret sauce was Phil Mickelson. This is going to feel like wah, wah, wah. The guys have to be talking trash to each other. The guys have to make it entertaining. There has to be four. We've done this with Phil and Tiger before, and it was boring. This is going to be boring. It's not going to be anything like what people think it is. And I think truly behind the scenes, they're over this too, but getting a 7-figure paycheck to show up to play 12 holes, we all would do that. and fake liking somebody in the process. Yeah, exactly. We do it for $500. We do it for $500.
I'm in. Yeah, right. But they are going to raise some money for charity, but I do tend to agree with you. It feels a little contrived. And then what ends up happening is during the match itself, contrived trash talking is
it's the worst.
Not only boring, it's abrasive. It's like trying to be funny when you're not funny. It's just awful. And so we'll have to see what Barkley and Phil as the commentators can add.
Phil is whatever Phil wants to do, Phil is going to do. And I think he's a fantastic commentator. And at some point, he will be the main guy for NBC or CBS, and he will be the highest paid analyst in the history of golf. It's going to take much money. ESPN tried to get Peyton Manning for $10 million a year. He turned them down. It will take somebody way more than that to get Phil Mickelson. He'll be amazing. He has to play in this, Ned. Part of the reason I want to be an executive someday, hopefully at CBS where I work now, is because I think a lot of times executives are bad. I think executives don't have vision. They don't know how to evolve. Why would any executive sit around and think that this would be a good idea without putting two other guys with them? Right? You could have two other guys, like, I'm just spitballing. You have like a Kevin Hart who can needle, right? You can needle and get the guys going. You're going to need two guys to get the guys going. You think Bryson is just going to be good enough to walk up on the first tee and just say something as a smartass to Brooks to get it going? No. You think Brooks is going to do that to Bryson and it's not going to feel like he's bullying him? Of course it's going to. To me, I'm not interested at all. This is the busiest sports weekend of the entire winter. I'm going to do football. I'm going to do basketball. I'm going to do anything else. And I love golf. And I'm not going to watch 1 minute of this.
Well, we'll see if others feel the same. You know, to me, my favorite ones in the silly season were the Tiger and Duval and Annika and Kari Webb, because there really was genuine rivalry. There was a ton of respect. But when they went into those matches, it was really important to win. And you get the sense in these, they've already made the money, and it's important, but not that important. Hey, let's move on, because I want to touch on a couple of opportunity bets in this thing, even though you're not watching. Bryson versus Brooks, basically a coin flip, depending on the time. And by the way, we're recording Tuesday. This is going to launch on Thursday, so the odds may have changed. But if it's a coin flip, who do you like?
Well, people need to be very, very careful, because there are certain holes that are going to be kind of like silly holes, fun holes, where you play one hole with one club. You have to decide if it's going to be a 7-iron or whatever it is. So this is not a straight up, we're just going to play golf match. So if I'm liking it from a motivation standpoint, you got to go with Bryson. Bryson is into everything that he shows up for. He just finished top 8 at the World Long Drive Championships, and he just showed up to put attention on everybody else and ended up competing at a very, very high level. So you've also got quotes from him. I wrote this down. Well, all he's doing is missing cuts lately. Is that the trash talk? Oh, yeah. Way to go, Bryson. You really got him. He missed a couple of cuts.
Right.
But that does play into it, though. Brooks has missed a couple of cuts lately. He's not playing very good golf, and Bryson is. So if it's a coin flip, I'd have to go with Bryson, just because I think he really wants to win.
We talk about it, and we mentioned it earlier in the show with Barney, that Koepka gets up for the majors. He gets up for the Players' Championship. He gets up for the big invitational events. The rest of them, if he plays well, that's great, but it's almost like he's trying to fine-tune his game to peak for the majors. So I just wonder where this falls in his interest level.
Here's the deal. For years and years and years, he made a big deal about not signing with an equipment company. He's like, I'm not going to do it. Okay, well, you can leave that, whatever it is,
right,
$2 to $10 million on the table not to do that. What did he do a couple of days ago? He signed with Shrixon Cleveland, because these guys are now realizing that, yes, he makes a lot of money. Yes, he's won a lot of money on the course, but what's the best way to not have to worry about the money on the course? Well, you make yourself more likable. You make more money off the course. That's exactly right.
That's it.
So that's what he's doing. Whatever he's making to Friday, put in the bank account, move to the next thing. I actually had to talk to somebody about an event I'm doing in Florida in 2 weeks, and they said, Coach, I can't show up for that. It would hurt my money at other places. And that's how these guys are now thinking. Where can I go, play the least amount of tournaments, and make the most amount of money? These guys don't want to play 20 tournaments a year. So how do you make up for that potential $5 to $10 million loss if you don't? You get it off the course. It's never been a hard concept for me to understand, but apparently for other people, it's very, very hard to understand. That money spends just like the money on the course does. So why wouldn't you go after that instead of always trying to grind on the range. And finally, Brooks is starting to figure it out.
Well, also, you know the clock was ticking. Again, the great chess game here on so many different levels. But if he had an inkling of an idea that he was going to sign this contract or he wanted a club contract, this was a great line in the sand of, hey, you better pony up because you're going to get access to me during this event. And they knew how many eyeballs, or they have all the metrics. And so you can drive your price up just given this one event. So again, there's just a lot of posturing here that I find fascinating, but from a business standpoint, really smart, really high level intelligence. A hole-in-one odds. Anybody make a hole-in-one plus 5,000?
That would be the dumbest bet you could make. Literally,
ever.
Walk into your bathroom and whatever you want to bet on it, put it in the toilet and flush it, because that's what you're doing.
Or just send it to me. I'm at Ned Michaels on Twitter. Yeah. I am more than willing to accept donations.
We'll take all bets. We'll take all bets.
At the Coach Rules, yes. Sure, he'll gladly take a couple extra dollars.
Any of them, yes, yes.
I am interested in this one, longest drive, and it's obviously favoring Bryson. He's minus 400, but I think it's Bryson all day long.
Again, be very, very careful, because when you do that, the drive has to find the fairway.
Yes,
so if that's the case, then that's going to be how the bet is paid off too. If they hit it into the gunch and then Brooks hit it right down the middle, then he wins. So again, at minus 400, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, because you're betting 400 to win 100. And those are odds I don't like for him to hit the fairway and beat Brooks in the process.
Switching gears as we come off of the Bryson and Brooks match, we've only got a couple minutes. NFL, 3 games, and interesting how we got to 3 games. You were giving me a little history before we jumped on air together here. Educate me.
For years and years and years, sports betting has been pushing the envelopes. But sports betting has been the catalyst for what the NFL and all these different leagues are thinking about. And when you add a third game on Thanksgiving, you're now putting more. People love to bet on primetime games. It's always the most bet game. It's why the Super Bowl is the most bet game in the world. So it just made sense for the NFL to add a third game on Thanksgiving night. And what they then do is the Cowboys play 2 weeks in a row on Thursday night. So you get America's team, the team that people love to bet on the most. You get them 2 straight Thursdays in primetime, essentially. And then you get them on Thanksgiving as the first week. So it's all about sports betting. This is what is setting up that you walk into a game, you make a bet, and then you cash that ticket when you walk out. That's the future. And these primetime games are everything for the NFL, and to be honest, other leagues as well. You want to have that primetime game all by itself, or at least only head up against maybe 1 or 2 other things.
Give me your 3 best bets, your favorite bets that you're looking at right now. Again, we're recording on Tuesday.
Yep.
This is going to drop Thursday morning. So as of right now, Tuesday, around noon Eastern time. What do you like?
I will tell you that we tape our NFL mega preview on Tuesday afternoons at 5 o'clock, and I always base my best bets off of that. I will give you my Thanksgiving bets. How about that? Because I don't want to steer anybody. So I'll give you my Thanksgiving bets.
That's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Yep.
So the Bears are giving 3.5 over the Lions. The Lions aren't good. They're starting quarterbacks out. So is the Bears. So I wouldn't touch this one. This is a stay away for me. But the Cowboys.
I pay not to watch that game, by the way.
Yeah.
Just a brutal.
Eat during that time. Eat during that time.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Second game is the Raiders and the Cowboys. The Raiders just aren't very good. They're not, but the Cowboys, that 8 number is kind of ugly. If you can buy it down to 7, I would encourage that, then play the Cowboys, or I would play the under, because the Raiders' just offense isn't very good. Then the last one, Bills and the Saints. This is interesting because the Bills just got beat badly by the Colts at home. The Saints, they have quarterback issues, but the Buffalo Bills are giving 4.5 on the road. I like the Bills to bounce back, cover that 4.5. So I take the Bills, and I would take the under in the Cowboys game.
That's some good Thanksgiving meat right there.
There you go.
Go ahead and lay your bets out there, folks. Hey, Coach, I ask you every time, but it's mainly because I can't keep up with it. Where all can we find you?
Well, the easiest way is Sportsline, CBS Sportsline. If you follow us on Twitter, it's at Sportsline. Subscribe to our YouTube page. It's growing like crazy. But you turn on the notifications, and then all the shows we do, we have a daily show. We have evening shows 6 days a week. Then we have special shows just for soccer or MMA or things like that. So we have everybody covered from every angle. But the easiest way, just follow us at Sportsline. All of our content's right there.
My guy's working Thanksgiving and Christmas. That's what he's all about. I mean, he's going Andre Agassi style. Work out Christmas Day so he can win the major.
It doesn't stop. That's right.
Coach, you're the best. Thanks for taking the time.
You got it.
Breaking Even is brought to you by Risk Reversal Media. You can find us at riskreversal.com and check out our podcast, On the Tape. Each week, Guy Adami, Danny Moses, and me, Dan Nathan, discuss the biggest market-moving headlines and chat with some of the most influential people on Wall Street, all in an effort to help our listeners make smarter investment decisions. So follow us On the Tape in your preferred podcast store.
So we tried to make a little bit of money with Jonathan Coachman on the bets for Brooks and Bryson, little NFL action. And this man, Danny Moses, who joins Breaking Even now. Danny, you've been running pretty hot on the NFL picks recently.
16-1 against the spread, baby. But yeah.
16-1. I'm not a smart man, but that works.
That's pretty good. I mean, I'm waiting for my downfall. I had that one bad game, and I know as soon as I lose a couple, I'm going to lose 10 in a row. So I'm just going to enjoy it while it lasts. You know, like we were in the zone during the golf. It feels that way, but I don't know. I'm seeing things clearly. So
see what happens here.
I wanted to ask you, how does it feel to be a winner?
I got to tell you, you've won more than I have, certainly in that sport. I've won a few tournaments on my level, not at that type of level, but that was you guys carrying the team and taking the pressure off, because when there's no pressure like that, that makes it a lot easier. But I told you when that day started, after like the third hole, I'm not normally like that. I said, we're going to win this thing. There was some magic in the air. I could feel it. And I think it was because Ryu was playing with us and she was high-fiving us and she was so into it. That kind of relaxed us all. So it was good to see her bookend 66s out there. But I don't think she could top the 19 under that we pulled off on Pro-Am Day. So it was great.
No, it was. Hey, next time you get a feeling there's magic in the air and you're talking about the financial markets, you mind just shooting me a quick text and just tell me where the magic is going to fall?
Only if you'll give me some good golf picks when you're kind of feeling it out there.
We can make some arrangements.
You got it.
Hey, what do we expect for the rest of the year? How do we manage the markets here? Because they're really starting to get haywire.
You know, even though we're looking at the broad market levels on the Dow and the S&P and even the NASDAQ, and they're only a few percentage points off the highs, there is just a lot of volatility, and I would say decimation occurring. Names are down 30, 40, 50%. So most people that trade stocks don't just own the S&P. They certainly, the retail community likes to dabble in stocks, and I think they're getting a little bit confounded here on why certain stocks are trading down when they are and why certain stocks are trading up. And when you see those type of things which don't make fundamental sense, that's never a good recipe, obviously, for consistent investing. So I just, again, people need to do their work and be patient on their names. And if they understand what they own, it's not a big deal. But if they don't and they start to question why they own something, just sell it, because don't worry about getting your money back, which I know is like the retail mentality. Just move on, because there's an opportunity cost to doing that, to staying in something, and then it really starts to wear on them. So when Biden decides to release, I know we're going to probably talk about the Strategic Polling Reserve, otherwise known as the SPR, which I'm sure everyone right now is going on Investopedia and looking up what it is. We can talk about that. When those things, when oil trades up on that should tell investors one thing. Most of the stuff in the market's pretty efficient. I mean, it was kind of telegraphed that he was probably going to do this. So when he announces a $50 million release, which is, by the way, we'll talk about why that's not a big deal when you see oil trade up, it's just getting investors to understand behavioral finance and what's built into the price of something versus what's not. I think, obviously, that's the key to everything. But that's kind of where we are right now. So I think a lot of mixed messages coming out of the market.
Yeah, so a couple of questions to follow up there. I want to come back to the oil, because there's a theory out there that to me makes sense economically from a macro standpoint. But I did want to retail and get your money back. And I find that so interesting, because you're exactly right. And we've talked about it. The genesis of the show is because basically I stink at this, but I am getting better thanks to your tutelage, Dan Nathan, Guy, as well. But the perfect example for me is DraftKings. I believe in the sports gambling that is going to take off. But this is a stock that went all the way to 70 or 71 and is now back down below sub 36 or 35 even. So, I've sold along the way, but still have a little bit of a position that's now pretty much just a wash. But, it just doesn't look like there's a whole lot of support for it. So is that, is it if you no longer believe necessarily in the short-term thesis, do you get out and look for another entry point, or do you just kind of hang in there?
There's a thematic way to play certain things, right? You want to play DraftKings because you want to play online gambling, and you know they're at the forefront and all that. But then there's a way to look and see, do they make money? What are their costs to actually acquire a customer? What's the churn? How much competition is there? You're getting a lot of like regional competition. So for instance, Hard Rock Casino, right here in Hollywood, Florida, right? Hollywood has their own sports gambling network, which is tied in actually to the physical location. DraftKings has partnerships all over the place, but they don't have that per se. So people in this area would much rather use the Hard Rock gambling app than DraftKings, right? And DraftKings obviously does a lot of other things that are out there, but then it comes down to your point, Ned, there's other ways, I guess is my point now, to express gambling online. Now, obviously, all the large Vegas casinos are affiliated. Penn Gaming's affiliated. That's gotten hit recently, obviously, because it has a physical presence as well. So I guess it comes down to trading an idea and a theme. And when that theme kind of is playing out over a period of time, and don't get me wrong, the online gambling theme, we're in the first or second inning. There's going to be so many iterations of it. And they have been acquiring companies, which I think was smart that they were doing with their stock, because that's a smart thing to do. But is it a sell here? I haven't really looked at it in terms of valuation recently, but if you don't know why you own it other than you want to be an online gambling, the answer is you probably sell it. And to your point, let's say your entry price was $42 a share, and now it's sitting here at 34, 35. You say to yourself, all right, just get back to 42. That's not a reason to own the stock, right? The reason on the stock is every day is a new underwriting opportunity. What's new today? What was different last week? What's different this week? What other competition is there? Start to really evaluate it. And so, you don't want to make a rash decision buying or selling, but just re-underwrite it and say, is this where I want to have my money allocated? How much do I want to have allocated? And what does the future look like for the company? And I got to look at the numbers, obviously, that are out here, but I haven't really looked at it, to be honest with you. So I can't give you a bottom up on that one.
Well, I sprung it on you, but as you were talking about some of these names who have been cut so severely, that one just popped in my mind because, again, I'm looking at these different volume shelves and reading more about it. And this, again, the education process of how do I study these stocks? And, they're, as you said, they're paying a lot per customer. And so short term, maybe that hurts them. Long term, we'll see. I want to get to oil as well. This reserves, this 50 million barrels coming out. It seems like short term, that's going to put a Band-Aid on a bigger crisis in the energy world and a shortage. But long term, it's only going to do that. As a matter of fact, it may have the reverse implications of OPEC now incentivized not to release more barrels of oil.
Let's just quantify this for a second, right? So the capacity of the SPR, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, is 714 million barrels, 714. There's 4 salt caverns that are located off the coast of Texas and Louisiana, where they store all of this. Right now, there's 620 million barrels that are sitting in there of oil. There's sweet crude, there's all kinds of crude in there, whatever. So the average price that has been paid for this crude that has been there is just under $30 a barrel. So just take that into account for a second. The drawdown capacity, the most that you can take out per day is 4.4 million barrels. That's just how the thing works, okay? It takes 13 days from the time the president announces anything for anything to flow through. The last time that we tapped the SPR, other than for a test in 2014, was Tropical Storm Isaac, which was 1 million barrels in 2012. The U.S. demand for oil is 20 million barrels a day. Global demand is 100 million. So 50 million is really nothing. Yes, it's more, he's trying to send a signal than what it actually means, which is why oil prices traded up today, because no one believes that OPEC Plus, to your point, how they reacted was, okay, good, we don't need to produce more now because you guys are going to release stuff for us, but you still have to replace these barrels in the reserve. And I got to tell you, the reserve is near its multi-year low at 620 million or whatever the number I said that they have in there. It can hold 714. So it really does nothing. And the second question, Ned, is he's making a point that it's tied to inflation, Biden. There's no question that high oil prices hurt the consumer. I mean, it's a tax on everybody, right? But how much of it is really tied to inflation? We've had periods where oil's been high the last several years where we've had no inflation. And there's studies out there that say for every $10 in oil, it's really only like a 0.10 increase in inflation. I mean, we're talking nothing. We're running inflation at 5-6% right now. We're talking 0.1 for every $10 of oil. So the 1970s was different. Oil went from $3 to $30. That had a major impact on the economy and inflation. And just to back up why it's an impact on inflation is if a lot of the stuff that you manufacture is stuff, you need oil and plastics, which is obviously made from that, and resin and so forth, obviously everything becomes more expensive. But the markets has learned to adapt over time to kind of, oil's been hanging out between, 50, 75, 80. Yes, it's been up here prolonged. So anyway, to answer your question, the reason that oil is up today is, one, it was anticipated, and two, to your point, OPEC Plus, I don't think is going to respond because they're saying, oh, great, thanks for doing our dirty work for us. And what is India? 5 million barrels are going to release, and the UK 1.5 million barrels. It does nothing in the scheme of what I just told you as far as total global demand and what actually the capacity is. And the last thing I'll say, Ned, is that, I mean, look at these rig counts relative to the price of oil. ESG investing, this environmental social governance, this consciousness, which is great for the long-term viability of the planet. But near term, and when I say near term, 5-10 years in the scheme of life, right? Looking back, that's a major transition we're going to be going through. So it appears to me that barring a recession, oil prices are going to remain elevated for some time because we just don't have the rigs in the ground to drill this stuff. So long-winded answer to your question, but that's really what's going on when you look at the facts of what this SPR truly is.
Yes, may have been some political posturing that has gone the wrong direction. Hey, before we slide out of here, I want to give a tip of the cap to our fearless producer and really leader of this gang, Amanda Diaz, who said that she sold her Rivian. I'm going to give another tip of the cap, multiple fist pumps. She sold it at like 160 or something like that. So Amanda, next time again, you get that magic feeling in the air, just let me know when to sell.
She has a good feel. We've known each other now, about a year, or not quite a year. And the stuff that she's been dabbling in, she has a good sense for it. She's been around it a lot. Maybe if she doesn't listen to the talking heads like Guy, Dan, and myself, that's probably why she's doing so well. But no, I think Rivian's another perfect example. Great idea story. Probably going to be a great company someday. But when there's no earnings and there's not even a product yet to value, what is the buy point on that? Like when it starts to sell off, no, it's at 100. This has got to be where you buy it. Why? Because because of $60 billion valuation.
Well, that's how many cars they've produced, 100.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, this market is, to answer your first question you asked when we got on, like we're in for a lot of volatility and people better step back. And if I were heavily in the market right now, I would think about raising a little bit of cash and selling it. I'm not saying to go short, but I don't think you're going to miss much by not being involved in the market. There's a lot of ratios out here that are very scary to me right now.
I've been listening to you all now for a number of weeks, and I've managed to do a little bit of that, raise some cash. So, hey, just want to say happy Thanksgiving and to the entire Risk Reversal team. So grateful to be with you all. The education that you've already provided, the opportunity. So Dan and Danny and Guy and Amanda, happy Thanksgiving. So grateful to have you all in my lives. Danny, have a good one, pal.
You too, man. Same to you.
Thanks for listening to Breaking Even with me, Ned Michaels. If you like what you heard, make sure you hit follow in the podcast store and leave us a review. It helps people find our show. Follow us on Twitter at Breaking Even Pod, or you can also find me at Ned Michaels. And remember, we'll be back next Thursday for more Breaking Even, which is brought to you by Visit Mississippi. Jump online, visit Mississippi.org. See everything that's going on down there.